Hello, and welcome back to the NHL 11 New York Islanders and Micheal Haley Jersey Quest BGM mode. As you can see here, we're kind of in the beginning stage of the free agency period after the 2012-13 season. So it means we didn't win the Stanley Cup again, unfortunately, but I'll kind of quickly recap the 2012-13 season and kind of we did in free agency and whatnot, and then kind of again expectations for next season, and then that'll kind of be it for this episode. So kind of going into the season. As you can see, we finished with a 46, 32, and 4 record, which is good for 96 points and the fifth seed in the Eastern Conference. So it was obviously a downgrade from us being the President's Trophy winners last season, but I kind of wasn't expecting us to be able to do that 2 years in a row. So I'll take kind of making the playoffs relatively comfortably. But in terms of scoring and whatnot, our leading scorers were Zach Parise and John Tavares both had 82 points. Then kind of in terms of the leading scorer is Bobby Ryan, who had 102 points for the Ducks, so he kind of scooped up a bunch of trophies and whatnot. In terms of goals for and goals against per game, we had 3.13 goals for per game, which was 10th in the league, and then goals against per game, we had 2.91, which is 7th, so kind of a bit of a drop off there, so we didn't really see Rick TPHO picking up kind of the Vezina and stuff again this season, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Kind of in terms of the playoffs, in the first round we got matched up against the 4 seed, the Tampa Bay Lightning, who were kind of a little bit in more of a class of their own because they were kind of really based on points, the 2 seed, but because of how the format works, they were the 4 seed because they had 106 points, which is second in the conference. The Panthers had 109, which is good enough for their first in the East and the President's Trophy this season. So we were kind of basically matched up against the second best team in the league in the first round in the playoffs, and it went all right-ish, but obviously we didn't win the Stanley Cup, but we lost in round one to the Lightning in 7 games. We won game one, 4-2. They then stormed out to a 3-1 series lead, scoring 4 in each game, winning game 2 4-1, game 3 4-3, and game 2 4-2. We then kind of clawed it back to force the game 7 by winning game 5 4-3 and game 6 5-2. But in game 7 we couldn't prevail and lost a tight one 2-3 to the Lightning. So they went on to the second round. In terms of who won the cup and whatnot, I'll pull up the kind of the awards and whatnot here. So you can see the Florida Panthers kind of did the double. They won the President's Trophy and they won the Stanley Cup. They beat the Minnesota Wild, who were the kind of team out of the West. And I think it was like 6. I think it was 6 games. Might have been 7, not sure. But they beat the Minnesota Wild, who were the 6th seed in the West with 88 points. In terms of the AHL, the Abbotsford Heat won the Calder Cup. Then in terms of kind of playoff scoring, our leading scorer in the playoffs was a 3-way tie between Matt Molson, Zach Parise, and John Tavares. They were all a point per game. They had 7 points in that 7-game series. Kind of in terms of Micheal Haley, we'll kind of pull up his there we go, player stats season, AHL. Here we go. So kind of in terms of Micheal Haley stats, he wasn't the leading scorer again, but he had a pretty decent season in the AHL. Where is he? Here he is. He had in 80 games, he had 20 goals, 28 assists for 48 points, and 107 PIMs, which is pretty decent. Kind of in terms of where he's actually, this is like was his 8th season. He turned 27. He's at a 75 overall, which isn't really that like it's kind of ish like a maybe kind of barely like a fourth line player and whatnot, but because he's the player focus for this Jersey Quest, we're gonna kind of keep him around and slap him on the fourth line in the NHL next season. So in the playoffs, they didn't make the playoffs, so he didn't have any playoff scoring. But yes, he had a decent season in the AHL again. Kind of grew a little bit, but not kind of enough to really kind of cement himself as a fourth line player. But we'll see maybe with him getting NHL experience next season, maybe that will kind of help to grow his overall and he'll kind of potentially, even though he's like 27, he'll continue to grow and kind of become a solid fourth line center for us. And in terms of free agency, kind of that we had the same kind of needs pretty much we've had almost this entire time, which is like kind of strength on the blue line. Kind of in the forward group, we didn't really need much. I even I let kind of one of our second line winger go, kind of promote Matt Molson up to the second line, and then Nina Ryder up to the third line because we had kind of a couple of prospects. So I kind of picked between to slap on the fourth line left wing next to Micheal Haley. So kind of our forward core is pretty much identical from last season. Micheal Haley is kind of moving into the fourth line center role, and then we're having a prospect, either Jesse Joensuu or Kirill Kabanov are going to be on the left wing on the fourth line next to Micheal Haley, and Pascal Dupuis on the right. Kind of goaltending is going to stay the same. Rick DiPietro and Emery both locked down to longer term deals, and they're solid. So kind of once again, the biggest kind of area of need was on defense because Mark Streit he's starting to decline, so we needed a kind of second pairing left defenseman, and then we kind of basically needed top four help on the right side as well. So I kind of balled out a little bit, I would say. I got an achievement for it, which kind of popped up a little before this. I kind of started recording because the thing happened, and I got an achievement for it, which is kind of funny. But if we go to contracts here, and then we slide over to defenseman and sort by overall, as you can see here, we have brought in PK Subban on a 8-year deal worth $8 million and a little bit per year, and that was an offer sheet. It's kind of like he was really the only good option, like anywhere on either side of the defense. But he is a right shot defenseman, which was really helpful. And I was like, I can't really wait, kind of don't want to wait another year, and he's young, so it's not like we're signing a really aging vet to a deal to kind of be our top pairing defenseman. He's going to fall off a cliff. We're signing a young player who can grow, and I was like, screw it, let's throw an offer sheet. See what happens. If the Canadiens reject it, we'll kind of go a short-term fix like we have been doing. But if they don't, I don't really mind giving up the draft picks. We have a pretty stocked cupboard in the AHL, and we're almost at max contracts anyways. So most of those players that we drafted, we couldn't really do anything with anyways. So I was like, let's do it. So we lost the first 3-round picks in the 2014 draft and our first-round pick in the 2015 draft to kind of bring Subban in, because I don't expect us to kind of miss the playoffs. We should be a playoff team kind of with this roster. So I don't really mind chucking away late picks in each of those rounds, kind of to really shore up our blue line for years to come. So we kind of now have a solid top pair with Gorgeous and Subban. I think both maybe ex-Canadiens. Kind of looking at those jerseys and the pictures. They both, obviously Subban was from the Canadiens. Gorgeous, I'm not really sure, but then kind of on the left side, kind of replace Mark Streit on a kind of shorter term deal, assigned Douglas Murray to a 1-year contract, and then brought back Ian White for another go around, kind of as a temporary short term fix on the second pair right side. And then we're kind of going to once again stick with Clementiev and McDonald as their third pair. Kind of hope they grow. Clementiev did a little bit, McDonald not so much, but we have kind of options, especially in the AHL. If they want to, say, Cone here grows after next season, we could slap him instead. Or if not, their contracts are both expired, we can sign someone else in free agency next season. But they're kind of chilling there. So that was kind of it. And free agency, we kind of made that one big splash, a couple of short-term signings elsewhere on defense. But the roster is pretty settled. We have a good for now. We really, I think, have a pretty solid core. We have a good first line with Parise, Tavares, and Okposo. Tavares and Okposo I locked down to longer-term deals. If you look here, they both have longer-term deals, kind of at $6 million, $4 million per year, which is nice. So we have our top line locked down with Tavares, Parise, and Okposo for a long time to come. We have a solid second line with Molson, Como, and Bailey. Kind of third line's also good, so we have a good roster there. And then defense, we kind of have a nice top pairing now with Gorgeous and Subban for years to come. And a solid number one goaltender, Rick DiPietro, so we have a really solid core at the top. And then kind of in the middle and the bottom are also pretty decent for the most part. So we should, kind of in terms of expectations for next season, I'm kind of expecting that we should once again make the playoffs. Maybe we can kind of push up a little bit in the standings. So now we have a more solid defense and whatnot. We'll kind of see. Yeah, so I'm kind of hoping we'll make the playoffs again, hopefully, because now we have a bunch more rivals and stuff. Playoff matchups work in our favor. We can go on a deep run. Once again, the playoffs, potentially win a cup. But if not, we don't. And we'll kind of probably just keep on chugging along with Micheal Haley on 1 or 2 year deals for the rest of his career, potentially. But we'll kind of see what happens with that. I kind of thank you everyone for watching this, and hopefully you tune in for the next episode as well.